Is
Okay.
it counting?
Yes.
Okay, hi everybody. Well, today is a big day. I'm going to take us all out to CNJ Bus Repair for a tour of the facility and talk to you about how you can get your bus repaired by a company that was founded for the purpose of repairing buses. No rip-offs, no ignorance, no bad parts, the real thing. But first, I'm going to have some Italian sausage and some hash brown potatoes and some fried eggs. Look at that, folks. And my darling wife, the cookie, is holding the camera today. She prefers not to have a big breakfast. So I cook breakfast for myself. Put some salt and pepper. And in order to get the nice sunny side up eggs I like, I cover the pan that I fry the eggs in. First I 2 palms of water in the pan with the egg. I fry the eggs in butter and then cover the pan with the plate, and that means that the eggs will fry gently and nicely and no crispy, no lace on my eggs. Okay, that's it, Cookie. I'm going to sit down and have breakfast, and then we'll head out to C&J. You can cut it off now, Cookie.
Tap the red so
Yep,
again.
just tap the red one. Here we are at CNJ Bus Repair on 90th and Pillsbury in Bloomington, Minnesota. So we're going to go in and meet the crew and take you on a tour. Let's begin with stepping into the parts department and saying good morning to absolutely nobody. I hear voices. I'd like to show you a little bit around the parts department. There are parts here for MCIs, Prevos. There are parts for GMs. In some places, there are parts for older GM buses. If I could find a light switch here. Filters, belts. Most of what's here are for the regular fleet of charter bus company This company specializes in the repair of MCI and Prevost buses, newer models. This company was not set up to service our older vintage buses. However, circumstances in the economy have changed, and it is now possible to accommodate us with our older vehicles. Between our stock at Richfield Bus Company and the knowledge of the mechanics here and Bus Grease Monkey, Scott, and me, Bus Old Man Phil, and now with the opening of this facility, to us, we're finding a new opportunity, an opportunity to get our buses repaired by an honest, real bus service company. Permission to enter your kingdom, sir.
You may enter at your own risk.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to J.D. Dickinson. J.D. Dickinson is the manager of CNJ Bus Company. He's also part of the founding fathers of the company. J.D., this is an outline of what I had in mind
Okay.
based on what I think would be a good advantage for our viewers and for you and your company. I'd like you to start by saying a little bit about how this all got started and your father running a bus company and where you grew from that.
All right. So back in my younger years, my dad owned a company called Dickinson Coach Rebuilders and American Trade-A-Bus. And we would buy and sell motor coaches as well as refurbished transit buses bumper to bumper. Back in the fishbowl days, we did probably about 1,000 buses that we refurbished completely back to new standards again. Back in about 1995 is when I joined up here with the Schwartz family at CNJ Bus Repair here in Bloomington, and we are a MCI, Prevost, Temsa, and Cetra authorized warranty and service center, and we take care of all the private coaches in the area as well. We're actually the only company in Minnesota that takes in, other than ABC Bus, that takes in outside coaches for repair and maintenance.
Is it now a good time for you to engage our vintage bus community?
Absolutely, absolutely. So with the current COVID situations that we're all dealing with, there's definitely a shortage of seated motor coaches on the market. So that opens up the opportunity for a lot more private coaches to be able to get into our shop. And so we're obviously working on vintage coaches as well as privately owned coaches.
So if somebody was to purchase a bus and they wanted to spend the money to get that bus here, an older GM or an older flexible or whatever, you would be willing to accept it on a time available basis.
Absolutely.
It's not an in and out situation. Your first order of business is your regular customers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so they could be expected to leave their bus here a week, a month, maybe even 3 months.
That's correct.
But it will get done, and it will be getting done correctly. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right,
and
sir.
We actually have customers coming from as far as California and Texas with their older vehicles to get them maintained and repaired here.
Now tell us a little bit about the cost. There is a flat rate shop fee, correct?
Correct. Our hourly labor rate is $139 an hour.
Okay, so you will pay $139 an hour for every minute that bus is in this shop. But the important thing is that JD and his crew will do the job right. Remember, these are bus people. These are not truck people. We've had people who spent $7,000 getting a front end overhaul that amounted to 2 parts installed, and that was it. We've had people who have been estimated to pay $5,000 for a supercharger overhaul on a 671 engine that doesn't have a supercharger. So JD, probably a front end overhaul would run about what, 4 or 5,000?
It greatly varies depending on the vehicle and how many parts.
Well, let's say an older GM vehicle, like a 4106, for instance.
Yeah, you could spend up to $5,000 an axle rebuilding the coach.
For one axle.
Yep.
That would be like, so that could be 10 grand then for a whole front end rebuild.
Yep.
Okay, but that would be done right, and that would...
We're not the cheapest game in town. I don't want to be the cheapest game in town, but we're the best game in town, and we're going to do it right the first time, and you're only going to pay us one time.
What about engine overhauls, like on 671s and V71s?
We found it to be more beneficial to the customer to be buying engines from American Fleet in Springfield and installing their remanufactured 2-cycle engines that come with a warranty. They do it for a living. They do it every day, all day. They have very good quality, and they stand behind their warranty.
Would you say that there are enough people around the country to install an engine if the owner purchased one that way?
Yeah, there is. We've got allies all over the country.
Okay, so if you recommended somebody, then it wouldn't have to be here. It could be somewhere else
Correct.
in the country.
It depends where you're broke down at.
Okay, fine. And then you would do suspension work Do you change springs and airbags and
We
things
sure
like?
do.
Okay, and so, all right. Would you like to show us around your shop?
Sure. So back in the back row of the parts room right here, this is our remanufactured parts area. So we have rebuilt AC compressors, steering gears, air compressors, alternators, blower motors for just about every model coach available. And these are all remanufactured in our shop by our people. We ship a lot every day all over the country, and we warranty them for a year.
Okay, and I did wander through the parts area now while I was waiting for
Okay.
you. So could we move to the shop
Sure,
now
come back
and give
this
us?
way here.
I'd like to first start with Steve's shop.
Yep.
What are you going to do to replace Steve?
Well, Steve thinks he's retiring, but we're keeping him on a part-time basis
Oh,
to
good.
help us with our remanufactured parts. And this is where he works his magic back here.
Steve takes compressors apart, motors, generators, alternators. Remember, a lot of times we have to deal with DC generators, and it is not always an alternator, and we don't
Correct.
always switch bus parts out just because we want to. Okay, JD, go ahead.
All right. Then we'll move out here to the service bays.
I'm trying to walk slowly carrying the camera, people.
I'll slow down a little bit.
I've lost my dancing skills. Right now, at this time, it looks like you have.
So this is our service shop. We have 3 bays with portable wheel lifts. The end bay's got a 6-column set of lifts in it, so it can pick up the heavy entertainer coaches and motorhomes. That's a brand new set of lifts that we just bought.
How about more like the buses we have, 4104s, 4106s,
We can lift- we can-
MC5s?
Yep, we can lift them in any bay. This is the first bay over here with Christine in it.
We have to get
There's
it
actually an
out of the
in-ground
line.
hydraulic hoist in that bay.
Oh, okay,
So it
this
picks
is,
the buses up by the axle, not by the tires, so that's kind of our brake bay.
that's great, it picks
And
the
it's right here by the
buses.
brake lathe.
Okay, and now here's a brake lathe, and this,
We can turn drums and rotors on any kind of coach on that.
there you are, and they have turned the drums on our 1939 flexible, and they've turned the drums on our Crown school bus, and so this is a fabulous operation with historically minded people working here. So they're not making fun of you and your old bus. They take your concerns seriously.
Correct.
Proceed.
Correct. So, back in the day when we were rebuilding 2-cycle engines quite frequently, this was our engine bay back in this corner. of the
Let's walk back there and look at that. We know it's cluttered. I know it's cluttered, and you know it's cluttered, but you're currently not rebuilding engines.
We will do major repair, but we're not going to do a full rebuild of an engine.
Okay, but there are plenty of engines around, and rebuilds are not necessarily the best way to go these days.
Correct.
Is that
It's not
correct?
always the most economical way to go.
Okay, and it is risky also.
Yeah.
People brag about how the old 671s are so wonderful and so reliable. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, and I think JD will agree with me that they can have their problems, and if you're not careful, you can blow an overhaul job. And so people like Scott and me just never take it out of our minds how careful we have to be when we rebuild an engine. So there are still some parts left here for older engines, and I see there are some older transmissions around. And I was going to ask you, what about people that buy buses with 730s and those transmissions?
Yep.
Do you overhaul them here?
We don't rebuild the Allison automatics, but we have allies in town that do.
Okay, great. All right, what else would you like to say?
I think that's about it.
All right, let's go back to the office and sit down, and you can tell me how they can get hold of you, and you can tell me what you want to hear from them and what you don't need to hear from them. And I would like to say right now, folks, this is not the place you call and ask 100,000 questions. JD and his crew are busy working on buses, so please consider your questions directed to us in our community on YouTube and so on, please don't call JD and ask him how to fix your bus.
However, we do offer technical support for our customers that are service and parts customers as well. So if you do have technical questions, we can help you. CNJBusRepair.net is our email, or is our website. Busesandmore.com.
Go slow, go slow.
Selling buses.
Slow down now because it's hard to hear this over the.
Yep. And we've just launched a brand new website as well called BusTrader.com.
BusTrader.com.
Where you can upload and buy and sell your own buses at totally free at no charge.
Would you be able to find for somebody an older bus like a 4103 or a 4106 or something like that? So if they found something on Craigslist or found something somewhere else, you know those are risky. Those buses that have been sitting in people's backyards and the old man dies and then the wife says, I got to get this thing out of here. You know what a basket case those buses are. But JD can help you find one that's in halfway decent shape. Now, so we're talking about $10,000 to $20,000 to buy one, right?
Probably.
Okay, now, here's the thing, people, is when you're ready to buy a bus, you go to your bank and you obtain a $20,000 credit line. Now, listen to me carefully. This is not to buy a bus. This is to get your bus the way you want it. Once you buy a bus, that $20,000 Visa card and you will be married to each other. And each time you step foot on that bus and push the starter button, have that Visa card in your hand. Because if you think a bus is a honeymoon, I got news for you. When you buy a bus, as good as one will be from JD or one you found in somebody's backyard, the money pit begins. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you from buying a bus. I just want you to understand that this adventure you're involved in is going to cost you $40,000 before the first day you take a trip and get back in one piece. So understand, and you've watched enough YouTube videos now to know that Scott and me are busy all day long working on buses for people. Every time you step foot on a bus, it's going to cost you something. So just understand that. I'm not taking the fun out of it for you. You can have a great time. There are people everywhere like JD and Scott and me that will help you. But remember, this is an expensive hobby. So, JD, I want to thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
The other thing I would recommend anybody that's going to buy a bus would be to get a hold of one of us or yourself, or your guys at the Bus Boys or Scott, because we have allies all over the nation, and you should always have a pre-purchase inspection done on the coach before you buy it, so you know what you're getting into. And we have a lot of friends all over the country that could help you with that.
And if you do decide to purchase a bus from Bus Traders,
BusTrader.com or busesandmore.com.
JD is personally involved in that, and you can be sure that JD will tell you what that bus is, what it needs, what it doesn't need, and JD will outfit you with something that will not be the beginning of trouble, but the beginning of fun and enjoyment. Isn't that right, JD?
That's correct.
JD is an honest, God-loving man, just like I am and like Scott is, and we're here to make your bus experience fun. But once again, don't think for 1 minute that you're going to get through this cheap. Okay, JD, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Phil.
Hi, I'm Dave Wright, the parts manager at CNJ Bus Repair. A little bit about myself. I got started in the business back in 1990 with my dad. Dad started a tour company when I would have been 20 years old. And he started driving motor coaches, and I got into it. I just enjoyed it and got my license, and he started this company. We were out of Wanamingo, Minnesota, Harry's Motor Coach Tours. And we had buses up until 2013 when we sold them. Did tours all over the United States. Been everywhere, loved it. Brought our buses to CNJ Bus Repair to get service, so I knew all the guys here, JD and all the mechanics. So when we sold our buses, they asked if I wanted to come run their parts department. Well, that's how I ended up here. So
Great, Dave. So tell us about our new life together with all the classic buses now that the economics of the world have allowed C&J Bus Company to bring in our culture of historic buses, and how C&J now will be able to accommodate those who would like to have a reliable place for bus equipment. Tell us how you went about developing this skill of finding parts that are non-existent.
well, like you said, obviously with COVID, we turned a little slow in areas. So JD decided, hey, we've got to do the vintage buses too. I mean, we've got to keep the revenue flow. So that's how we'll work on anything right now. And sourcing parts is, it's challenging on the older stuff, but you know.
And there, behind me is a whole shelf of Steve's collection of vintage bus manuals, parts books, and you've developed a system and a network of people throughout the country, the world probably by now, where we can locate a brake diaphragm for a 1938 flexible or something like that. So Dave, let me see your empire here and show me that collection of books that you have that Steve left with us.
We've got books that Steve's collected over the years. We've got the manuals. We've got manuals for 4106, 7, 8s, anything and everything. And with Steve's knowledge, now that he's retired, which isn't good, but we'll still use them when we can. But yeah, we've got vintage parts go back 70 years.
That's great, Steve, or Dave. So, well, thank you very much. This has been a very informative couple minutes, and we look forward to dealing with you, Bus Grease Monkey, Bus Old Man Phil, and all of you out in the community. We welcome Dave and his new philosophy of caretaking us old collectors. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Well, now I'm at Chief's Towing in Bloomington, Minnesota, and I'm speaking with Jeff, the operator of Chief's Towing. Jeff and I have had a nice conversation about a follow-up with C&J Bus and how would you get your bus here. And Jeff has all the answers. Jeff, tell us about your establishment, how you got started, and why you're in this business, and what you would like to do to help our business.
Sure. Chief's Towing was started in 1971 by the current president and owner, Robert Schoenborn. He started with one tow truck way back when. It's grown to probably 30 trucks, various types and sizes, trucks, trailers, heavy-duty wreckers, light-duty wreckers, and so on. We employ about 35 people year-round and do just about anything. If it's on the road, we can pretty much move it.
And you have the landauls and the flatbeds that would move our classic buses. And your operators are familiar with the care and feeding of old vintage vehicles that need to be handled carefully, and they can't be damaged with careless handling, and your drivers are well tuned to that. So say supposing I have a bus and I'm in Klamath Falls, Oregon, or Charleston, South Carolina, and I want to get my bus to C&J Towing in Bloomington, here just 6 blocks from where we are right now. And we understand that you're not going to jump out of your seat and jump into a truck and head right there. In order for this to work for both of us, you bus operators, you bus owners need to know that to save money, Jeff and his company will consider your job as a backhaul. Would you like to tell us how that works, Jeff?
Sure. We can do it either way. If somebody wants it done right away, we can do that too, or in a short notice. It's going to cost a little more money, like was stated. But as backhauls, I do have step deck trailers and I have multiple landau trailers. And what we would do, Once you contact us and state you've got a vehicle in Oregon, Portland, South Carolina, wherever the case may be.
I need to move away from that machine running.
Oh, sure. Anyway, you would tell me where exactly your bus is, and at that time, then I would start trying to find trailers, or trailer loads to the region where you're at. That way, it will minimize costs for me, which can then give you a better price getting the bus back to CNJ Bus Repair, which is a fabulous place. We've been working with CNJ Bus Repair for many years.
And you have worked with us. You've hauled buses for us, and we've been very satisfied with the service. You have been able to jump out in the middle of the night and catch us when we're stranded with a revenue bus.
Yes.
We now in the classic bus community aren't in that kind of hurry, and so we're glad to take advantage of the opportunities that may not be right away. We may have to wait a week, a month, maybe even 2 months before you have a truck in the area. Wouldn't that be right?
We hope not, but yes, that is a possibility. We hope it not to be 2 months, but we will get to it as soon as we possibly can, so we can make a fair price, and you can have a fair price as well.
So it's important for you, bus owners, that you make your decisions about moving your bus quickly and call quickly.
Yes.
If you decide, well, I'll wait until tomorrow, you may have missed a truck passing right through your area. So as soon as you decide you're ready to get your bus moved, call Jeff at Chief Towing, and I'll give you all the information you need. And who is this lady behind the counter? I take it she's the one that answers the phone.
Yes.
And handles all the business. Who are you anyway?
My name is Becky.
Jeffy?
Becky.
Becky. Hello, Becky. Let me
Hi.
get here. And you answer the phone, and you understand that when we call, that we need to bring our bus up here, and you're going to do it for us. And we understand that we may have to wait a while, or if we're loaded with money, Jeff will jump in his truck and head right there. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, it's nice to meet you, and it's nice to engage in your services, Jeff. Thank you very much.
You bet. Look forward to it.
Okay. Well, guess what? Here I am, and another 671, and another engine I'm hoping I can get running. I've been preparing it the way you saw it on the other videos with setting the rack and all of that, and breaking free injectors. The electrical circuit to the starter doesn't run, but I'm more interested in getting the engine running. I can do the electrical work later. So here we go with the old roadman's trick. I'm going to see how I do it. Okay. Well, I know there's fuel because it's running out of the filter, so I'm going to give it a shot of ether. All fine. It has a 1/4 inch. Everything thread is plugged. So, I use my handy dandy flat jaw vice grip. And you put the vice grip on so that the top jaw takes the top and of course it's really on there good, so it's not moving, it's not budging, so we'll do something else instead. We'll just spray a ton of it in the air intake. And Tom, you wouldn't mind spraying it in that air intake, would you?
Yeah. Up here?
Yeah. Okay, oh, I know what. We're bypassing it. Get it up in here instead. I forgot I had the air cleaners off. Yeah, spray it up in here.
Go ahead.
Well, now we know the engine runs. And there's fuel in here. So, let's try it again, Tom.
Yep.
Look at that, oil circulation already. Okay, so I guess I'll loosen one of these fuel lines and see what's going on.
What was the deal over there with your, was that the shut off? The emergency lever?
This is. I was trying to get this plug out of here to spray
Oh,
ether
I
in
see,
there.
okay.
Yeah. This is working, so I'm okay there.
Yeah.
And the rack is free, so I'm okay there. So, and there's fuel here. So, we can't be far from it. Okay, you can stop it there. Well, there you have it, boys and girls. Believe it or not, another one. Just listen to this sweet sounding engine. Why, this one even has a muffler that isn't burned through. The loud kick you hear is a bent blade hitting the fan shroud. No big deal. That'll do it for today. Well, I hope you enjoyed our day out in Bloomington today. There were a couple of things I wanted to bring up that I either said wrong or forgot to say at all. I heard myself say CNJ Bus Towing when I was with Jeff over at Chief's Towing. I meant CNJ Bus Repair. Now, here are some things that I want to describe as far as priorities. This is my opinion, and I want to share it with you, and you could decide how you want to handle this. The first person I'd call when you're ready to have your bus worked on would be a Bus Grease Monkey. Bus Grease Monkey travels around the country, and he can do this heavy work on the two-stroke engines. He doesn't work on D-decks, he doesn't work on Cummins and all the others. If you're buying a bus with a General Motors or a Detroit diesel, the 71 series, that would be my choice to call, would be Scott. If you want brake work, drums, suspension, that Scott can do that. And Scott travels around the country. That probably is the best way to start. Now, in the event that Scott can't do this, he has a lot to do and he has a big property in Tennessee he's working on, then CNJ Bus Repair is my choice because they're right up here. As JD explained to you, if you don't want to haul your bus up here to Bloomington, Minnesota, which by the way is outside of Minneapolis, JD can find a place for you that's closer to where you are in the country. So it doesn't have to be CNJ, but I need you to understand that it's going to cost you money, and if JD tells you to go someplace, then do it. And don't be screwing around with other people. Just do what he says to do. Okay, next thing now. Chief's towing, I didn't cover this either, but Chief doesn't have to bring your bus up here. He can pick your bus up and take it to some other facility. The important thing to realize is that to save money, he'll do it when he has a rig available in your area. And if your area is some other part of the country, it may take a while for a truck to be there. Your option, of course, is call a local hauling company. And Chief doesn't have to bring everything here. You may find it even better to call a local hauling company if your bus and the facility you want to go to are closer than what Chief can do here. Okay, and the next thing is now, this is Chief's towing. So, of all the videos I've done in the past 9 months, this may be the ultimate. I feel that I have done as much for the bus community today as I'll ever be able to do. I have now provided you with everything you need to know to begin your beautiful hobby of having a real live bus. No more cabinets full of little tiny buses. That's a cute hobby. I enjoy that. We showed you Stan's collection one time. But now you're in here and you're running with the big dogs. So enjoy. I hope I haven't scared you away from having a bus, but I want you to enjoy it, and I want to be able to help you find the right things and the right places. So many of you have been screwed that it just needs to stop. You need to know. And everybody who's watching me, please pass the word around, and please leave comments. And people, please read the comments and comment on the comments. Let's get this information out to people. Let's get this to people before they've sunk their money into a project that failed. When you find a bus in a cornfield, it's going to need a lot of work, and you need to start in the right places. So get your bus somewhere. It's safe. Call Scott, Bus Grease Monkey, email him, watch his videos. His information is there. Start there with him. Then call JD. Then you can visit me on my site now and then. And all of us together will get you a bus that'll run and drive. And we are in the process of hiring a psychologist and a psychiatrist for those of you who feel you're going to sink yourself into marital problems with the acquisition of a bus. So we'll help you through psychiatric care to train you to communicate with your wife. Up until now, she's let you think you're the boss, but this ain't gonna be easy unless she loves buses and she's loaded with money, and you've taken your kids out of college and put them to work. You sold the lawnmower, you rent the dog out for companionship, and you have a damn good paying job. Then you're going to have a lot of fun with us in this community. Thank you. Bye. Well, I should have known it. I should have known it. I only had this nice new blouse from Bus Grease Monkey on. I only had it on 5 minutes, and I mentioned a GM 671, and look what happened. An oil leak showed up. Jeez.